Welcome everybody to my review of SummerSlam 2020. And wow, what a pay-per-view it was. It was a lot better than I thought it was. I'll let you know that right now. I was expecting maybe two things I was really looking forward to, and the rest of the card was like whatever. But shockingly, this was turned out to be a surprise of a pay-per-view in many ways. So let's not even beat around the bush. And let's get to it. To my review of SummerSlam 2020. First official match of the pay-per-view was Bayley versus Asuka. I did not watch the kickoff, which was Apollo Crews versus MVP, which Apollo won. So, Bayley versus Asuka was a little sloppy at times. Overall entertaining, solid match, I guess, to start off the pay-per-view. Granted, like I said, it was a little sloppy, but, you know, we're all humans. Nobody's perfect. And depending on how this match was going to end, we would know the result of the other one in reality. Bayley won. She retained thanks to Sasha Banks, which obviously led to me speculating how the other match was going to go. And if you watch wrestling, you probably figured it out too. But regardless, we'll get to that later. Overall, this match was okay. It wasn't nothing special in by any means. Like I said, it was a little sloppy at times, but still, Bayley and Asuka put in a decent startup match for the pay-per-view if you don't watch the kickoff like I didn't watch the kickoff. Overall, I will give it an up. It was okay. It wasn't bad or terrible or any of that. It was just a little sloppy at times, but overall, these are two good performers who tend to put good matches all the time. And this was a decent match. Nothing bad though. I say decent and people would be like, oh my god, that's pretty bad then, huh? Not a very good match. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Match was decent and a decent way to start the pay-per-view, but it only goes up from here, to be honest. But it still gets an up because it was a decent match. Next up was the Street Profits versus Angel, Garza, and Andrade with Zelina Vega in their corner for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Now, one has to wonder if Zelina's out, why is Bianca Belair not out with these guys? But whatever. Just a question I have. You know, it would only make sense if Zelina's out there. And, you know, she did poison your husband. Anyway, this was a very, very good match. Fast-paced, back and forth between both teams. I love Andrade. I love Angel Garza. I'm not a big fan of the Street Profits. They did retain here. I was hoping for the other result of Angel and Andrade winning, but maybe a payback, a pay-per-view that's a week from now. Why would you have another pay-per-view so fast? What's the build? Whatever. Fast match, good match, and I mean fast and like fast-paced, not a short match. It was really good, really solid by everybody. It's just the way it ended. I was not a big fan of the ending. The match will get an up because the match was really, really good. Really fast-paced, back and forth, both teams. But the match ended essentially when Andrade accidentally hit one of the Street Profits into Zelina Vega. Andrade went to check on Zelina Vega. I mean, Garza hit the Street Profit guy. And that left Garza alone. He got hit by their finisher and was taken out. 1, 2, 3. Street Profits retain. Not a fan of the result, but a very good match to go along with it, so it gets an up. A match that was originally supposed to be hair versus hair was turned into no DQ. For whatever reason, I guess neither of the girls wanted to cut their hair and be bald. So they added no DQ and the loser leaves WWE. I expect the loser to go to NXT. That's just a prediction, not a fact. Honestly, this was a pretty entertaining match that has been having a very good build all these months since like February, I want to say, March. Very good build. And this match actually pretty much did deliver on the action. Mandy Rose did win the match, which means Sonya technically has to leave WWE. Like I said, I predict she'll probably go to NXT. It was a very solid match. I didn't expect such a decent match of these two because they're not really considered like very good women's wrestler compared to everybody else. Bayley, Sasha, Asuka, Paige, people who wrestled, Trish, whatever. They're never mentioned at all. And to see them put such a decent and very good match was shocking and surprising in a good way. And I'm hoping that, assuming, you know, Sonya's not actually out, I would love to see her in the title picture because she's been doing excellent heel work ever since splitting from Mandy Rose. That's just what I'm hoping for. If she goes to NXT, maybe she can be NXT champion down there. It was a very good match. Like I said, it did deliver. It was no DQ. I just wish they would have taken advantage of the no DQ just a little bit more. I wish there would have been a little bit more action because they teased a table spot on a few occasions, but there was never a table spot and stuff like that. That match will get an up because it was good. It was enjoyable. It was a good match by two women that barely get credit when it comes to women in the women's division. They're never mentioned as being great or good or any of that. So they do deserve the credit. They put a good match. I give them a lot of respect. Sonya putting up a good match, especially after everything she's going through, is great for her. Up from me. One of the matches I was really looking forward to was Dominik Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. I'm not a big fan of this whole Messiah gimmick and stuff like that, even though I love his entrance thing. But this build had been good. It picked up from the Rey Mysterio build. And I gotta say, I have to say, I think Dominik Mysterio, if he truly keeps at this, he will have a good future. He was pretty impressive in the stuff he did show. In the very beginning, he didn't do much. Seth was just teasing at the fact that, he's not not a very good wrestler. He's just getting started. Seth Rollins had an outfit which was, I guess, mimicking Rey Mysterio's 1997 WCW Halloween Havoc outfit, which I think is great. It's a great heel move. It was done on purpose. It was fantastic. And from there, Rey Mysterio, my bad, it's still a Mysterio. Dominik Mysterio will have certain spots which Eddie Guerrero will be proud of. It was a really good match. It was really solid and entertaining. I really did enjoy it. It did not let me down. I think Dominik has a promising future ahead of him. He really does. And yeah, Seth Rollins did win, which I see some people are getting a little bothered by that. But they're not going to have Dominik beat Seth, one of WWE's main guys, in his debut match. It makes sense for Dominik to lose. You can end the feud, or you can continue and have it be at 2 versus 2 later on. Rey and Dominik versus Seth and Murphy. You could go that route, which is the route I'm thinking they're going to go, and that's when they finally get the victory over the heel. Just a prediction. Not that it's actually going to happen, but if it does, who knows? It might happen next week at Payback, because, it's called Payback. So they need to get some payback. Pretty simple, really. It was a really good match. I really did enjoy it. It was hard-hitting. It was a street fight. Dominik told his dad not to get involved. Why? The match was a street fight, no DQs. Murphy was out there too. Whatever. This didn't make much sense, but whatever. He promised he wouldn't get involved. He didn't until Murphy did. And overall, it was a good match, hard-hitting match. But really, should it have been a street fight? Probably should have been some fucking candlestick match, because that's really pretty much all they use. Candlesticks. But Dominik, you did it good. Good match. Good first debut. And against Seth Rollins, you couldn't have gone wrong with any other wrestler. So you might have lost, but you have a long future ahead of you. I think so. I believe so. And Rey Mysterio supposedly signed another contract. So, like I said, I expect this feud to continue 2v2 next time. When will we see Dominik wrestle again? Who knows? But this was a really, really good, solid match. It gets an up from me. Sasha Banks defending the Raw's Women's title versus Asuka, who had already lost to Bayley. And this is what I meant by predictable. The fact that Bayley retained gave me the feeling and prediction that Sasha would lose. There was no way both of these women were going to walk in and both were going to walk out with the titles. It was either Asuka takes both titles or she's taking one. And she took one, and it was Sasha's. For a few reasons, I believe this to be the case before the match even happened. One, Sasha will eventually feud with Bayley. Two, they've already been building Shayna versus Asuka for a few weeks now. It's obvious that was the direction they're going to go. I just hope they don't wait too long in that Sasha versus Bayley thing. I hope that match and feud comes soon. Now, this match was very good. It was better than the Bayley and Asuka one. I think Sasha and Asuka put a better match than Bayley and Asuka did. Overall, I'm going to give it an up. It was enjoyable. It was good. Asuka played it pretty good. The whole injury from the first match. The story was that Bayley, I guess, didn't take the hit to help her. Sasha win, but Sasha did earlier in the night, even though that didn't make much sense because she did try to help Bayley. Sasha, my bad, at the end. That didn't make much sense to me, but that's how the commentators played it. But the match was good, enjoyable. I give it an up. Give it an up. Next up was Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre in a feud that has been built very great. The way it's been built up has been fantastic. The match started off slow pace compared to everything else in the match. I was starting to get worried the match was going to be a letdown, but as the match kept going, the match kept getting better. And to my surprise, well, to many people's surprise, Drew McIntyre retained. I'm actually happy with this because I wanted Drew to retain. I love Drew McIntyre. I've been enjoying his title reign. And to be honest, I sometimes worry if he loses the title, if he'll be a one-time wonder like Kofi Kingston and Jinder Mahal, people who probably never win the title again. So I was worried about that, but he did retain. The match did get better later on. It was a good match eventually. Overall, it was a good match. It started off slow, especially compared to everything else, but it was a very good match. But at protective of superstars, there was no RKO, there was no Claymore. It gets an up because it protected both of them in case they do another match. So nobody took got KO for a pin. Drew McIntyre won with a surprise pin. So you have a reason to keep the feud going. There was no RKO Claymore to take somebody out. Overall, it gets on up. It was a very good match later on. It starts off a little slow, but if you give it time, it overall turns out to be a very good, solid wrestling match. Next up was Braun Strowman versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt. I was about to say Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. Whatever, I guess it's the same thing. In a Falls Count Anywhere match, they went around the building pretty much. They wrestled in the ring, outside the ring. They destroyed barricades, tables. They used weapons. It wasn't that long of a match. It was a good match, though, in which Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, retained. At one point, Braun started cutting off the little, thing that protects the ring, the foam thing, I guess, whatever that's called. Revealed the wood of the ring. But essentially, Bray used this, hit him quite a few times on the wood, and got the 1, 2, 3. I was happy as hell. It was a pretty good match for them two. The Fiend is Universal Champion again. And then you never saw it coming, did you? Roman Reigns showed up, speared the Fiend, speared Braun Strowman, destroyed Braun Strowman with a chair. For some reason, the Fiend was unable to get up throughout this whole time. A guy we've seen get up from many things way worse than a spear. He was laid out flat for this whole time. Then I believe Roman got back in the ring and speared him again. I think he speared him again. And I was like, what? So Roman picked up the Universal title. Clearly his intention is to go back to the Universal title. So Roman came back from a 4 or 5 month vacation and is clearly going straight into the title picture. Which I don't have that big of a problem. My problem is, number one, the Fiend was clearly laid out for minutes here by one fucking spear. The last time somebody took out the Fiend was another master of the spear, which was Goldberg. I'm believing that the Fiend is like Superman, and his kryptonite is somebody who has mastered the spear. I am worried about this because the Fiend just won the title, and I hope and pray that he didn't just win the title to drop it to Roman Reigns that fast. Because if that's the point, what's the point? I hope the Fiend didn't just win the title to drop it to Roman Reigns. Because if that was the point, then Braun should have kept the title. The feud should have ended a long time ago, and Roman can beat Braun. But if Roman's going to beat Bray in his first fight back, who already has suffered to Goldberg already, I don't see the logic in killing the Fiend that fast. Because you could have left the Fiend, have a good title reign, and then if you want Roman to take it, then you have Roman take it. But is he going straight to fight the Fiend? And what, immediately take it? Because I doubt, knowing Vince, he's going to have the Fiend beat Roman. And if he does, he won't do it twice in a row. And like I said, I question the fact that the Fiend was laid out by a spear for so long. A guy who's taken so many more moves than that. But hey, it's the whole jackhammer incident, but with a spear this time, huh? Laid out. I don't know if to be excited or worried for the Fiend, because listen, I love the Fiend, and he's probably my favorite wrestler this whole past year since he's been around. And it just doesn't make sense for Roman to just come back and take the title from him when he just won it. Because if he loses it that fast, then clearly being Universal Champion is one of the Fiend's weaknesses. Because he's unbeatable, wins the title, and he's going to lose. Now I'm just getting ahead of myself because we don't know if he's actually going to lose to Roman. I don't know if to get excited or worried, but whatever. We'll see what happens. I am curious. I was disappointed by no Alexa, though. I was hoping Alexa Bliss would show up, maybe like Sister Abigail, like a new version of Alexa. What a wasted opportunity. Unless she's being safe for when he fights Roman and she helps the Fiend beat Roman. We'll see. So the match is gonna get an up because the match is good. It was a decent, good match. Also, the result of the Fiend winning was the correct result. It really was. The Fiend winning was the correct result. There's no reason to bury the Fiend yet and have him lose like that. Again, we'll see because the way it ended, we'll see. But the match itself and where we are now, it gets an up. I'm not gonna get ahead of myself. Where we are now, it gets an up. Though I am worried for the future of the Fiend now that he's gonna wrestle Roman. I'm worried for the future of the Fiend. But let me not get ahead of myself. And where we are now, it gets an up. And let's see where this Roman Fiend stuff goes. Overall, SummerSlam 2020 was a very good pay-per-view. I actually did not give a single down. This is the first time I go a whole pay-per-view and I don't give anything a down, which is actually pretty impressive because I'm really picky when it comes to wrestling. But yet again, I didn't watch the kickoff. Maybe that would have gotten a down had I watched it. Who knows? Overall, SummerSlam 2020 was a very good pay-per-view. I might even say maybe the best pay-per-view this year. So 0 downs, everything up, gets the heavy metal horns. Because this was a great pay-per-view. And you should definitely watch it if you're looking for good matches. It was really good. Like I said, no downs. I really, really enjoyed this pay-per-view. I think you should watch it. You'll enjoy it. Pretty much everything in here was good. The ending, I have mixed opinions on, though. This has been Brian Redgrave with my review of SummerSlam 2020. If you like, share, and subscribe. Redgrave, out.